Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining. Today, we're talking about one of the most important visibility opportunities for your hospice, right? We're going to be talking about how to get your hospice ranked on Google Maps in 2026 to get more calls, right? When families are searching for hospice care, they're often in a stressful and emotional situation. They're not just browsing casually. They they're looking for help, right? They're looking for answers and a provider they can trust. So that is why showing up in Google Maps really matters. If your hospice is visible when families search in your area, you have a better chance of earning the call, right? Starting that conversation, ultimately helping more families. Okay, so before we get into this, I just want to make sure that uh, I have the chat open for any questions that may pop up. And I just want, if you can drop a one in the chat, if you can hear and hear me and see me. But all right, thank you, everyone. Um, Okay, great. So before we get into the strategy, let's start with why this matters so much for hospice providers right now. And there we go. So families are searching online every single day for hospice, right? Hospice providers near them, right? Hospice care near me or hospice near me. Uh, and they're looking for answers about, what to do next. In many cases, Google Maps uh, that section, that Google Maps section, is one of the first places they look. You see your name, your reviews, your location, your phone number, right? Click to call button before they even ever visit your website. So that means the Google Business Profile is your often your first impression, right? So if your hospice is not showing up or your profile looks incomplete, outdated, or less trusted than your competitors, right? Families may never make it even onto your website. So they may simply call the provider that looks more credible to them. Um, so before we break this down in the strategy, and I want to quickly explain who we are, why we focus so heavily on the Google Maps, showing up in that Google Map 3-pack for hospice. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, I'm Brian Frantz. I'm the owner of Hospice Care Marketing. Our agency works exclusively with hospice providers. Right? We're not a general marketing agency serving every single industry out there. We focus specifically on helping hospice providers grow through their website, the local SEO, Google Maps visibility, right? The paid advertising sections of Google, right? Reputation management, and a strong conversion strategy. So what I'm sharing today is not theory, right? These are the same issues we see every day when we review hospice websites and Google profiles across the country. Our goal is simple, right? We want to help hospice providers become more visible, generate more qualified calls, and grow census in a way that is sustainable and measurable. So let's walk through, what we're going to cover today. Um, so what we're going to cover today, right? We're going to cover a few important areas. I think first we'll look at whether Google Maps still matters today in 2026, especially with AI changing how the search results appear. We'll talk about what has changed, including the AI overviews, right? Maybe stricter profile verifications, fake locations out there, reviews, uh, and maybe some outdated tactics that aren't going to work anymore. Uh, After that, we'll walk through the common reasons hospices do not rank in the Google Maps three pack. Right, and I'll show you the four main pillars we focus on, right? The Google profile, the citations, reviews, website, and SEO. So by the end, you should have a clear plan to check, what to fix, and what to put at the top of the list to prioritize. So let's start with the big question most providers are asking: does Google Maps still even matter in 2026? And um, the answer is yes, right? Google Maps absolutely still matters. AI is changing search, but local intent is still very powerful. When someone searches for hospice near me or hospice in my city, right, they're often looking for a provider they can call now, right? The Google Maps section gives families a fast way to compare providers. They can look at reviews, they can look at how close they are, right? They can look at some information, like some business information, right? Some photos. And they can click to call directly from the Google search results page. And that's a huge opportunity, right? The key thing to understand about Google Maps is that Google Maps is not just about rankings, right? It's about trust. If your hospice appears in those top map results with strong reviews, accurate information, and a fully complete profile, families are more likely to see you as the credible option, right? If we look at some of the stats that I have on the screen here, right? 71% of the clicks on the search results happen inside the Google Map area. And 67% of those clicks go to the top five listings in the three pack. So 41% of all clicks go to that number one ranked uh, provider in the map pack. So let's go ahead and look at what this can actually mean in terms of visibility and calls, right? So when Google Maps is optimized properly, it can drive real results. We're not just looking at impressions or rankings, right? We're looking at actions. Are people clicking to call? Are they visiting the website? Are they requesting, information? Are they engaging with the profile? Those actions matter because they can turn into real conversations with families and referral sources. So, and some of the examples we've seen, the Google profile becomes one of the strongest sources of first-time callers. That is why we pay so much attention to it. But it is important to understand that the profile doesn't work in isolation, right? Your reviews, your website, your citations, the service area pages on your website, uh, your local authority, right? The authority, like your authoritativeness in your market, all support how you show up. So to understand where Google Maps fits, let's zoom out and look at the different areas of the search results page here. So you got uh, a few different areas. Okay. So when someone searches on Google, the results page is a little more crowded than it used to be. You may see the AI overviews at the top, the Google ads, You may see the Google Map 3-pack, and below that are the traditional organic search results. I think a big mistake many providers make is thinking they only need to focus on one area. We believe that the strongest strategy is to build visibility across multiple parts of the page. So the paid ads, those can help you show up quickly. Organic SEO builds long-term authority. Okay. AI-focused content helps answer questions. And Google Maps helps capture like high intent local searches. Okay. And that's what we're focusing on today. Right? We're focusing mostly on the Google Maps section. But the important point is Google Maps works better when the rest of your online presence is strong. And so with that in mind, let's look at what has changed going into 2026. There are several changes, okay? And I think it's important that I think you need to pay attention to this in 2026, okay? First, the Google is showing more AI generated answers in search results. So that means your website content needs to answer questions clearly and accurately. And second, Google is becoming stricter about the verification methods. Many cases, video verification is now part of the process. Okay, Google wants to confirm that your business is legitimate in that location. And third, here, Google continues to crack down on fake locations, right? Also, keyword stuffing, right? And the adding keywords to the business name, things like that, and duplicate listings. Okay. And finally, I think the map area is more competitive than ever. You may see paid ads now in map results, stronger competitors, right? And profiles with more reviews and better optimization. So I think the big takeaway, the big takeaway is Google wants trust and wants to see that your hospice is real, active, consistent, and relevant to the searcher. That brings us to an important warning. So some tactics that worked years ago can actually hurt you today, right? Before you try to improve your ranking, you need to make sure that you're not doing something that could, put your profile at risk. Right? I think one of the common issues is fake or questionable locations. So years ago, some businesses use like home addresses or rented mailboxes, UPS stores, things like that. Uh, addresses where they don't actually operate. That's risky today. Okay, and another issue is the keyword stuffing in the business name. Okay, it's like Joe's Hospice. If a company name's Joe's Hospice, uh, and then you're adding like Dallas to that, like Joe's Hospice, Dallas, Texas, or something like that, right? Um, that would be keyword stuffing, right? If your legal business name is not, Best Hospice Care Dallas, right? You should not add those keywords just to rank higher, right? And also inconsistent business information can hurt. And if your name, your address, your phone number are different across the internet, right? Google may have less confidence in your business. And ignoring reviews or having no review strategy can make it much harder to compete. I think the main point, compliance comes before optimization. Um, now we know what can hurt you. Let's talk about what or why many hospices struggle in that 3-pack. Okay. When a hospice is not ranking in the Google Maps 3-pack, it's usually not because of one single issue. It's often a combination of problems. Okay. You may not have a verified office in the primary city you want to rank for. Your profile may be incomplete or inactive. Right? Your reviews may be weaker than your competitors. Your citations may have inconsistencies in them, right? Um, citations slash directories. Um, your website may not support, right, the cities and services you're trying to rank for. So for 2026, I would add one more issue, right? FAQ content. Google's old public Q&A feature has changed. So now you need to make sure your website answers those most important questions families are asking, right? Questions about eligibility, service areas, admissions, and what to expect. Right? It should be clearly clearly answered and outlined on your website. If Google can't understand your business, it's harder for your profile to compete. So, how do we fix that? Right? So, we use a proven four-pillar formula here. The first pillar is your Google Business Profile, right? That includes setup, verification, services, photos, posts, hours, and overall completeness. Okay. And the second pillar is citations, right? These are the listings or the directories across the web that show your business's name, address, and phone number, right? And the third pillar is reviews. Reviews help with both visibility and trust, okay? And the fourth pillar is your website SEO. Okay? Your website needs to support your services, your locations, and the questions families are asking. If one of these pillars is weak, right, your maps, the visibility of maps is going to suffer. Okay. A complete profile is great, but if your website is thin, your citations are inconsistent, and reviews are weak, you are still going to, you're going to have a harder time ranking. Okay. So let's start with that first pillar here. Um, the first step is to make sure you actually have control of your Google Business Profile. Okay, you should know who owns it, right? Who manages it, and what email account has access. This sounds basic, but many providers, don't know who controls their profile. I mean, maybe it was set up at someone that doesn't work there anymore, or something like that, right? Next, we want to make sure the business name is accurate, right? We're not going to add extra city names or keywords that are not part of your actual business name. Okay. We're going to make sure the address is legitimate. Your phone number is local, where possible, right? And your website is correct. And your hours, right? Those are accurate, right? Verification is also important. I think uh, Google may require different verification methods, and video verification has become much more common. So Google may want to see proof that your business is real. They want to see signage. They want to see office access, like unlocking staff-only areas, right? So they want to see surrounding businesses, things like that. But I think it's important to be careful before making major changes to a profile that's already ranking. Okay, if your profile is already ranking in that top three in the top three of those Google Map listings, a s- a simple edit can trigger a verification issue or suspension. Once your profile is properly set up, the next step is keeping it active. Okay, so your profile should not be something you set up once and forget about. Google wants to see that profile is active and accurate. That means adding photos, publishing updates, responding to reviews, keeping services current, and checking the insights, checking those performance insights. For hospice, I think real photos matter, right? Photos of your office, your team, community events, and branded materials. It helps build trust. Okay, there's postings also, right? So the Google posts can also help keep the profile active. You can post about educational resources, community events, awards, service updates, or you know, just other helpful related hospice content or topics. And I think one important update for 2026 is the Q&A change. Okay. You used to be able to seed your own, right? And so instead of relying on the old Q&A feature, you now need to build a strong FAQ content on your website and make sure your profile and service pages clearly explain what you do. Okay. Google's AI needs clear source material. Your job is to make information easy to understand and easy to trust. Now, let's move from the profile itself um, to the information Google sees and citations, right? Are mentions of your business, the name, your business name, address, and phone number across the web. Okay. We call this NAP consistency, right? Name, address, phone number. Google uses this information as a trust signal. If your business information is consistent across major directories, healthcare directories, local directories, right, other data sources, Google has more confidence that your hospice is legitimate. But if one site shows an old address, right, or another one shows a different phone number, and another site has a slightly different business name, that creates confusion for Google. This is common, right? Especially if you've moved locations, you've changed phone numbers, rebranded, or you opened up multiple locations. Okay, there's tools out there like Yext, Bright Local, Whitespark, and other citation platforms. They can help, right? But the real goal is consistency and accuracy. Um, let's see here. I did, yeah, pulled up. So Yext is a local listings management tool. Right? This is a really cool tool. One area will connect to, all these different directories around the web. Okay, Bright Local can do the same thing. So I just wanted to share those two. I know I mentioned them. So brightlocal.com and then yext.com, right? So you can sync your citations here in Yext. You can have Bright Local build out a number of those citations. Oh, whoops. Slideshow. Okay. Um, so once Google can trust your business, the next major factor here is your reviews. Okay. Review Reviews are the most important parts of your Google Maps strategy, right? Or one of the most important parts, right? They help with ranking, but just as important, they help with conversion. Okay. I think more important, right? When families compare hospice providers, reviews can make the difference between someone calling you or calling, Joe's Hospice down the street. So for you, the reviews carry a lot of emotional weight. Families want to know that your team is compassionate, responsive, professional, trustworthy, all these things. Okay. The key is to build a consistent review process, right? We're not going to wait until the end of care or hope someone leaves a review. Okay. We need to train your team to recognize appropriate moments, right? Especially when a family expresses gratitude. You also need to respond to these reviews. carefully, right? Be appreciative, but avoid mentioning any protected health information and details about the patient's care. The goal is a steady flow of reviews, not just a one-time campaign, okay? And then, months go by before another one happens. So let's talk about the part many providers might overlook, right? And that's your website and how it supports your maps ranking. Um, so your website it plays a major role in your visibility. Okay, Google looks at your website to understand what services you provide, where you provide them, and how relevant you are to a search. Your website should have clear service pages. If you offer routine, respite, continuous care, grief support, pet therapy, music therapy, other services, that we want to have those explained on the website, okay? You should also have location pages for the cities and counties you serve. But I think it's important, right, that these pages, it's important that they're unique, right, and helpful. Okay, you don't want to just copy and paste the same content on another page and just swap the city name. Okay, and the speed, how quickly the page loads matters. Right, if your site is slow, confusing, or difficult to use, especially on mobile, creates a poor user experience for families. Okay. Um, some of the technical elements like the title tags and the headings of the content, right? The meta descriptions, uh, right? These should all help Google understand your hospice and help families take the next step. So how does Google put all of this together, right? Let's look there. Um, Google's local ranking is built around three main concepts, okay? Proximity, relevance, and prominence, right? So proximity is simply, how close your business is to the person searching or to the location they're searching for. And relevance means how well your business matches the search, right? If someone searches for hospice care in your city, Google needs to understand that you provide hospice care in that area. And prominence means is how well known and trusted your business appears online. That's going to include the reviews, the citations, any backlinks, your website's authority, and overall online presence. So you can't control every part of proximity, right? If your office is outside the city you want to rank in, that can be a challenge. But you can definitely improve the relevance and prominence, right? That is where profile optimization, the reviews, citations, website content, and local authority come in. Uh, so let's connect this to one of the biggest changes, I think happening in search right now, uh, is AI. Okay, AI is changing the way people search, but it really doesn't eliminate the need for SEO. It actually raises that, right? That standard. When someone searches a general question like "What is hospice care?" Google may show an AI overview before the organic results. So that means your content needs to answer questions clearly and directly. But when someone searches like hospice near me or hospice in my city, right? Google Maps is still extremely important because the search has local intent. The best approach is not to choose between SEO and AI. The best is going to create clear, helpful, trustworthy, content. Okay, it's going to support both. Um, for you guys, it really means like having strong FAQ pages, service pages, right? Location pages, review content, and complete business information. Google and AI tools, they need to understand who you are, what you do, where you serve, and why families can trust you. Okay. I did pull up, let me go ahead and did pull up like ChatGPT here. Okay. And did a search like who is the best hospice provider, or just who is the best hospice in Las Vegas. Okay. And we can look at some of the sources but it named this one here. And this is not our client, right? We don't have a client here in Las Vegas, so I just randomly chose that. But this is why they chose it. So they cited Reddit, right? I think I saw Reddit a couple times. Another one here, um, and you can see it other highly rated ones, and what they right, and we can find out what caused them to we can ask like, how did you come up with this? How did you come up with this? Right? If we wanted to go down the rabbit hole and find out, right? Community experiences, public quality data, um, positive feedback, clinical reputation, responsiveness, longevity experience, availability of inpatient care and broader services. So yeah, that's gives you a little idea here. Let me go back to the slideshow. So let, let's let's turn everything we covered into a simple action plan here. Okay. Here, here's what I recommend you focus on. Okay. First, confirm that you have access to your Google Business profile and that it's all the information's accurate and up to date. Okay. Second, I'd review your profile for completeness. Okay. Look at the services, look at the products, right? Look at the photos, look at the hours, the business description, and the website link. Okay. Third, audit your citations, right? Use that tool like Yext or Bright Local. Make sure your name, your address, and your phone number are consistent across these major directories. Okay. And then fourth here, create a review strategy, right? You want to train your team, make it easy to ask and respond to reviews when appropriate. Um, Also, fifth here is to improve your website, add and or strengthen service pages, right? We want to add city pages, maybe some of the counties that you operate in, and FAQ content. And we want to track progress. Okay. So track your progress, look at calls, look at website clicks, look at rankings, look at reviews, and overall profile interactions. Okay. The goal is not to do everything in one day. Okay. Or overnight. Right. The goal is to build a system that improves your visibility over time. Okay. And if you want help figuring out where your hospice stands today, that is exactly what we can help you with. Okay. Um, if your hospice is not showing up when families search in your area, you may be losing calls to competitors every single week. The good news is many visibility issues can be identified and fixed. Okay. Sometimes it's a profile issue or a review issue, maybe a website issue. Sometimes it could be, citation inconsistency or weak local authority. Okay. At Hospice Care Marketing, we can review your online presence and show you where your biggest opportunities are. We'll look at your Google business profile, your rankings, your reviews, your website, your citations, and your overall local visibility. And if you're serious about getting more qualified calls and growing your census, visit us at go.hospicecaremarketing.com and you can schedule right there. We'll be happy to walk you through this. Even if we don't work together, I promise that you're going to leave with some value, right? You can also give us a call, right? Um, I don't have the website, their phone number up there, but it's 877-959-5849. And, please go ahead, schedule that free strategy session today. Promise you're going to leave with value. And uh, that is all I have for today. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope this was helpful, and we'll talk again real soon.